If you are considering signing up to a yoga teacher training course, or even just hypothetically considering the idea that one day you might want to teach yoga, the question you're probably asking is, how much experience with yoga do I need to have? How flexible do I need to be? Do I need to be able to do, arm balances and headstands? And what's the criteria to sign up and enroll for a yoga teacher training course? Well, there's a common misconception within yoga practice in the modern world that being advanced or experienced at yoga means being the most flexible, most strong person in the class. The good news is your ability to execute these postures or to perform them really doesn't matter when it comes to signing up for a training course. Being advanced or experienced at yoga really just means putting the teachings of yoga into practice, not just while you're on your yoga mat in a class, but just in your daily life. A yoga teacher training course is going to delve into yoga as a whole, not just looking at the postures, but looking at all of the other elements that combine together to create this spiritual practice. So if you are just genuinely interested in learning about all of the different elements of yoga, the history, the philosophy, everything that comes together to create yoga, if you're passionate about learning more, then you are ready to sign up for a yoga teacher training. The physical ability, your level of flexibility, strength, all of that stuff is kind of secondary. It doesn't matter quite as much as your passion for yoga. Now, some courses will ask for a certain amount of experience in terms of how long you've been practicing. So they might ask that you wait until you've been practicing for a couple of years regularly before you sign up for the course. But that's not really a strict criteria across the board. And an important thing to point out is that although it's called a yoga teacher training course, and it is a qualification that will qualify you to teach yoga, you don't have to go into the course with the expectation that you are going to become a yoga teacher at the end. A lot of people just sign on to the course because they're interested in yoga and they want to learn more. They want to deepen their own understanding and their own personal practice. So a lot of people will go through the whole course and then at the end they'll get their qualification, and there's no pressure to go on and teach. So if you don't think you actually want to be a yoga teacher, but you just want to learn about yoga, then this is the place for you as well. So the big question to ask really is, do you currently have the time and energy and enthusiasm to commit to a yoga teacher training course? Because they can be quite intensive, they can be quite full on. There's a lot to learn, a lot to study, a lot to absorb. So it will require a fair amount of your time and your energy. In terms of cost and how long it takes, it really depends on what kind of course you go for. You can do really intensive courses where you're immersed in yoga day in, day out for a number of weeks. And then by the end of that time, you should feel ready to take your exam and you'll come away qualified. These tend to be pretty expensive because they tend to be residential. So you'll go maybe abroad somewhere and do it, or you can do them here in the UK. So this is possibly a more expensive route. It takes up less of your time overall, but perhaps you'll have to, book off a few weeks from work to be able to do it. So amazing if you can do that, but I think realistically for many of us that isn't something that's going to fit the bill. So the other way to go is to spread out the course, and this is always the way that I would recommend. So you could take a course that lasts 6 months, a year, where you're having training days every couple of weeks or maybe once a month, days where you'll get together and have that immersion in yoga for a day. And then you'll have time in between to study, to practice, both in terms of doing your own personal practice, but also practicing teaching. So that by the end of that 6 months or year or however long it is, you will have really digested a lot of the information and hopefully feel like you are at a point where you're confident in the knowledge that you have and confident in your ability to teach. Personally, I think that is a really nice way of doing it, spreading it out. And if it's training days on weekends, you can still be working during the week. So, it's less expensive than doing a fully immersive 4 or 6 week course, for example, and it may fit more into your existing lifestyle. So I think that's probably the way to go for most of us, but obviously it depends on your circumstances. The one other thing I'll just mention is there are a lot of online training courses these days, and I mean, this is just my opinion, and you may have had a very different experience, but the few people I know who have done their yoga teacher training course online really feel like they missed out on the experience of being there in person and really getting to know the other people on the course and getting to just go a little deeper into the yoga study. So I think online training can be great, it can work for some people, but I think if you have the option and if you can afford to do a course in person, I think you're likely to get so much more out of that experience, if it's a possibility. I have another video where I talk all about my experience with yoga teacher training and just a little bit more info on actually what teacher training involves. So if you want to find out a bit more, then you can find the video somewhere up here and I'll link to it in the description below as well. At the time of filming this, I am actually leading a yoga teacher training course and we're having so much fun on our training days. If you are very interested in going into a yoga teacher training and if you think that you might like to practice with me, leave me a comment below and I can send you the details about our upcoming courses because we're going to be running it again in future. I think I'll leave it there for now, so if you have any questions, if there was anything that was unclear, let me know in the comments below. Thank you for watching, I'll see you soon.